Well, good evening, everybody. Man, it's great to be back in the commentary seat again. It's awesome to be back in the commentary booth. Hello, everybody. Frankie Guinness, Mike Side, and welcome to the final round of the Western Province Sports and GT Masters Series. And we come to you tonight from the Red Bull Ring. Joining me, Mike Side, Mr. FC Nivout, the man himself from the Commentators Association, from Rage Racing and from Rage Productions himself. Joining me in the commentary booth this evening, Mr. Gary Fleming. Gazza himself is right here with us in the studio as well, but he's keeping a beady eye on the production to make sure that Mr. Gavin Fleming is doing all the work right in the hot seat on my right hand side. FC, good evening. Tonight is the final round and there are 4 drivers fighting for the top 3 in the championship.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Lovely to join you guys here for the final round of the Sports and GT Masters Series, coming to you from the Red Bull Ring in Austria. And it's going to be a cracker session there. The guys are out there. They've had an open qualifier session today. They've had about 22 minutes of that. That means we've got about almost a little bit more than 8 minutes left for this qualifying session, with Luke Lucchesi, the man on the charge, leading the qualifying out there on 1 minute 29.3, and Francois Hubert and Johan Fourie, the guys chasing him down, trying to improve on those times.
Well, I'll tell you what, FC, it's all about these 3 gentlemen tonight. Francois Hubert is leading the championship. Johan Fourie is 13 points behind him in that second position. Willem Botha is in 3rd place, and they are only, I think, 3 points behind second and third, or between second and third. There's 17 points between first and third. That is Francois, Johan and Willem. But let's not forget about Graham Stephen. He sits in that 4th position, and he has got a very realistic chance of making a top 3. It's all about 4 gentlemen fighting out for the top 3 positions. And we've seen a very interesting entry, a man that's the 10th fastest so far with a 1:38.05. That is Michael Stephen, and he is the brother of Graham Stephen. Now you've got to ask yourself the question, is Michael in there to assist Graham to get a top 3, or has he just entered because he felt like it? We don't know, or maybe a bit of both. It doesn't really make a difference at the end of the day. The bottom line is that's going to be a stonker of a season finale.
Yeah, definitely. As Frankie says there, it's going to be one hectic season finale. Riding on board there with Luke Lucchesi in the number 19, man currently sitting in pole position in that Hot Wheels Mercedes AMG GT3. And those are the cars the guys are racing tonight here in the final round. The Mercedes AMG GT3s out at the Red Bull Ring in Austria. Lucchesi leading the qualifying times at the stage of the fight. Francois Hubert, he's up there into the second grid slot at 1 minute 29.5. Johan Fourie sitting there in 3rd position, followed by Peter Hubert. Graham Stephen currently holding that 5th fastest time.
Yeah, and the man that's currently in that 3rd position in the championship, Willem Botha, he is in 8th position with a 1:36.21 at this point in time, 1.3 seconds slower than Johan Engelbrecht. That is, no, I lie, 1.3 seconds slower than Luke Lucchesi. That's the overall time you see there on the right-hand side between Luke Lucchesi all the way down to René Hubert in that 24th position. So Lucchesi is the quickest man with a 1:29.302. That was also his last lap. Francois Hubert 1:29.5. And they are the only 2 drivers so far that is in the very low to mid 1:29s. Johan Fourie is 1:30.022. He's there in that 3rd position as Graham Stephen gets his AMG GT3 Mercedes-Benz slightly out of shape, and he is the man that's in 4th position in the championship. And currently, so far in the qualifying FC, he sits there in P5 with a 1:31.32.
Right behind him in that 6th spot on 1 minute 30.434, Timothy Stanton. Johan Engelbrecht, the man we're riding with now in that number 16 Crown car. That is Johan Engelbrecht. He's currently holding that 7th fastest position. In 8th position, as Frankie said earlier, the 301 Toyota Gazoo car there of Willem Botha sits there in 8th fastest time, 1:30.621. With Swiss Hubert finishing off there in the 9th position. position. Ooh, getting it all wrong. There's Willem Botha planting that car in the barriers here in qualifying, and he's going to put there and try to get everything sorted there for one last run. So Sway Hubert, the number 22 car, riding on board with him now, sits there in that 9th position, and rounding off your top 10, Michael Stephen in the 23 on 1 minute 30.805.
Yeah, that is Michael Stephen you're looking at there, making his way around, and he is a dark horse. He did a few races last season, and he and Johan Fourie went one-on-one and made it very interesting. Currently just out of the top 10 is that man in the Martini Racing AMG Mercedes-Benz GT3, Peter van der Spey, or Captain Pete, as we like it to call him. And I want to say from my side a big thanks to Peter van der Spey, Gary, that had his medical condition. Peter van der Spey was on the phone regularly to Gary and to Gary's wife to find out how Gary is, and he assisted Gary in so many ways. So I want to say thank you from my side to the entire Sports and GT Masters roster, from Mike Verrier to Peter van der Spey to everybody else that contacted the Fleming family on a regular basis to find out how they are. Mike, you are a superstar. Captain Peter van der Spey, you are a superstar, and every other one of those 24 drivers and those that have not entered this evening that made it their business to find out how Gary was. From my side, from FC's side, from Gavin's side, from the whole production side, we want to say a big thank you to each and every single one of you drivers. You guys are absolute heroes.
Yeah, definitely a big thanks to everybody that's been supporting Gary and his family during this time. But it is lovely to have Gary with us here tonight, keeping a watchful eye over the production side of things, making sure that we do everything right here for you guys on the last round of the Western Province Master Sports and GT Master Series. At this stage of the fight, the guys are putting in the last couple of laps there. There's about just over 2 minutes left, and we'll start seeing the guys try to improve those times now before the end of qualifying. The time to beat so far, Luke Lucchesi with that 1 minute 29.126. We've seen him go pretty well in the practice session. Johan Engelbrecht just improved there, the 1 minute 30.148. He's moved up into 6th place. That's knocked Timothy Stanton down 1 position.
Well, what I've also noticed, FC, is that only one of the McCarthy brothers are in, and that is Stephen McCarthy. Sean McCarthy has not entered this final for the season, and he was one of the drivers who got a top 3, top 5 at the end of season 2, and he has not entered this one. So the time is running out. We've got 1 minute and 25 seconds left on the clock, and at this point in time, the number 19 car, the Mercedes-Benz of Luke Lucchesi, with a 129.126, he's the quickest man out there, with Francois Hubert in second, Johan Fourie in third. And where is Graham Stephen? He finds himself in P6, and Willem Botha finds himself FC. That's the man that's sitting third in the championship at this point in time in the Toyota Gazoo Racing AMG Mercedes-Benz, down there in 9th position with a 136.21.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see what the guys will be doing there. I see Timothy Stanton, he's in the pits. A lot of guys will be putting in as many laps as possible. Less than a minute left to get those laps in. Start seeing the guys try to push really hard now for the last couple of seconds to complete this lap with 1 minute 29.126, the benchmark so far. Willem Botha riding there with him in the 301 AMG Mercedes GT3 around the beautiful Red Bull Ring in Austria here for the final round of the Western Province Sports and GT Master Series. Let's have a look. Starting to dive into the pits. Johan Fourie does a 129.766, but that is still only good enough to maintain that third position. He does not improve, and that I think also he won't be able to put up another time as the time runs out. That brings us to the end of qualifying. Yeah,
they all done personal bests there, so Johan Fourie's PB is only good enough to put him in third position with a 129.766. But he is second in the championship, and the man that is leading is just ahead of him on a 129.537. So Johan won't be too phased about that. He knows that Willem Botha and Graham Stephen is behind him. Their biggest worry at this point in time, FC, is that man out there in that number 19 car, Luke Lucchesi, and who will get the whole shot into that tight right-hander that takes us all the way to the top towards actually called turn 3 by the time they get to the top of the hill.
Yeah, well, Luke Lucchesi just laid the gauntlet down on that final section of the circuit, put down an incredible lap, 1 minute 29.007, improving in heaps and bounds, and just making sure that everybody knows that, hey, I'm going to be the guy to catch here today.
So only Luke, Francois Hubert and Johan Fourie in 129s, Francois mid 129s, Johan low 129s, but look at Luke Lucchesi, 129 dead. You can rest assured he's going to do 128s, maybe even 127s. Now, Mike Verrio, who's also not taking part in this one this evening, he's made it perfectly clear that the drivers must race each other very, very hard, but they need to understand that Francois, Johan, Willem and Graham are in with a championship fight, and that the guys must not race them, but they mustn't make their race too uncomfortable, because this is the season and championship finale, and the top 3 is up for grabs.
Yeah, so we'll see what the guys can do out here to put up a show for us. That beautiful shot of that arch with the Red Bull from Dieter Massachusetts and his team at Red Bull that have purchased the Oostenrijker ring and dubbed it,
which was also known as the A1 ring.
The A1
once
ring.
upon a time, yes.
That's correct. All the way up in Austria, the lovely hills there of Austria that you can see in those shots. And guys starting up to line up there for the race to start. 50-minute race to determine our winner for today and possibly our championship for this season.
Well, there's that prancing bull, and you can see that's the grid positions. Luke Lucchesi and Francois Hubert on the front row of the grid, FC. The second row, Johan Fourie and Peter Hubert.
Yeah, Swys Hubert, the next man up there in 5th place with Graham Stephen next to him. Johan Engelbrecht and Timothy Stanton finishing up that 4th row.
And then the last 2 rows, Willem Botha, David Hubert, Michael Stephen and Peter van der Spey. That's the first 6 rows of the grid.
Sandra Bakari, the man sitting there in 13th position with Andre Steenkamp on his outside. And then the row right there behind him, Colin Plitt and Charles Hubert.
Then Stephen McCarthy, Herman Lazarus, Gerald Mouget, one of our 2 international drivers. He comes from Switzerland. And Ian Riddle rounding off P20.
And then our last 4 spots there, Andrew Colbert, Willem Pinaar, Eugene Manuk and Renier Hubert, the last guy sitting there on spot number 24 on this grid here for the final in the Western Province Sports and GT Master Series.
Right, here we go. There is only about a 3% chance of rain. The wind is, I think, something like 3 kilometers an hour. We saw that caption earlier on. And we are about to go racing club finale, or should I say season finale, for the Racing Master Series. Luke Lucchesi leads him off the line behind the pace car with Francois Hubert right there. Look at Peter Hubert, what a lovely start he has had in the qualifying session. He finds himself in that top 5. The Huberts are all in there, and you can rest assured that they are going to cover Francois all the way, and it's going to be absolutely brilliant stuff.
Right, so the guys lining up here for the race start as they come down the straight here. We'll be racing pretty soon. Luke Lucchesi is the man to watch. He's been laying down the gauntlet since the start of a practice session with Francois Hubert right there by him. Into that corner, we are racing.
We're going to go green soon. Watch those lights, and I think we're going to be underway.
There
we go, Green FC, and the final of the season is underway. Luke Lucchesi sprinting up that hill, making his way into that right hand. It's a very complicated right-hander. Graham Stephen sits in that pack as well. And Graham Stephen is just there ahead of Francois Hubert. Willem Botha sitting all the way down in that 9th position in the Toyota Gazoo racing outfit. You see him right there in that mid-pack trying to work his way through as they head into that very tight right-hander that is known as, I say turn 2, but it's actually known as turn 3.
The guys squabbling for track position there as they come underneath that advertising board there, but it is still Luke Lucchesi leading them way up on the field. Johan Fourie, he's the man sitting there in third position in the number 14 Monster Energy Mercedes. He's right on the tail there of Francois Hubert in the number 6 there ahead of him. But behind them, there's still also a tight battle brewing between Peter Hubert, Graham Stephen and Swys Hubert.
And they are all in there. Francois Hubert, the man that's leading the championship, sitting there in second behind leader Luke Lucchesi with Johan Fourie in third. We have a look there at Michael Stephen. He sits in there in P9 behind Timothy Stanton. He would want to have had a better start than that. He wants to try and look after his brother Graham, that is currently there in that 5th position. Right behind him is Peter van der Spey as the field comes through. There is Charles Hubert. Herman Lazarus sits out there in that 17th position, and Riddle in the Marlboro car has a go with him as well. Man, they're all in there, but we're back with the leader Luke Lucchesi as we are now on lap number 2.
On lap number 2, and almost a second between our leader and second place Francois Hubert, as Lucchesi is putting down the water pretty quickly. Not a full second, but right about hovering by about 0.7 of a second. But Francois Hubert not giving up just yet. He stays glued to the back of that Hot Wheels Mercedes, try and not fall back too far. He's already starting to pull away from Johan Fourie, who's already 1.3 seconds behind.
Well, I'll tell you this for nothing. Francois Hubert won't worry too much about Luke Lucchesi. All he wants to do is end ahead of Johan Fourie, and he wants to end ahead, obviously, of Willem Botha. So currently, he'll be happy in that second position, driving the AMG Driving Performance GT3 Mercedes-Benz, sitting there in that second position. There is Johan Fourie in the Monster Energy Merc, and he has been hassled there by Peter Hubert, and Peter is only 0.6 of a second behind Johan Fourie. That's there in that third position. Graham Stephen is in P5, Swys Hubert in P6, and then we come to that man, the Toyota Gazoo Racing Mercedes-Benz of Willem Botha. Willem sitting out there in P7, but he's third in the championship, and he's been chased there by that man Timothy Stanton. And Timothy Stanton's been hassled there by Michael Stephen, who's only 0.8 of a second behind Stanton.
Behind us, Stephen, there we've got Peter van der Spey sitting there in that 10th position. He started the race just outside of the top 10. He's moved himself into that 10th position with Dami Hubert close behind him from Andre Steenkamp. Herman Lazarus in the number 17, the cheaper cars Mercedes right there behind him. In Riddle also still hanging in there, trying to put up a fight there, but he's got Stephen McCarthy all over the back of that Mercedes, trying to gain a little bit of advantage in the slipstream. Yeah, Gavin and I actually spoke about it on Monday. These Mercedes are actually extremely good in the slipstream. You actually gain quite a lot by staying in that sweet spot in the slipstream behind them.
Ian Riddle had a look there at Herman Lazarus. We've got a car off there on the left-hand side with Stephen McCarthy right in there with them as well. I caught a glimpse of, we're going to have a replay here. It was Swys Hubert coming through there. He's going to spin it coming to the outside of the left-hander, and yep, puts it into the tyre barrier, and that is bad luck there for Swys Hubert.
Definitely not something you want to do, run wide out of that corner and then get onto the power way too soon and then just flipping it around. But at the moment they're still riding on board with Ian Riddle in 13th position, and now moving into Michael Stephen. He's moved up there into 7th position with saw him starting already up into that 7th position, and he's starting to gain there on Willem Botha as the guys are really trying out hard there to try and catch as much points as possible in the season final here on the Western Province Sports and GT Masters Series.
I'll tell you what, look at that top 5 that's busy breaking away from the rest of them. It's Luke Lucchesi, Francois Hubert, Johan Fourie and Peter Hubert, and not too far behind them is Graham Stephen. You see Graham just there in the background. Johan Fourie is only 0.8 of a second there behind Peter Hubert, but here comes Michael Stephen. Michael Stephen is right on the case there of Willem Botha and Timothy Stanton. He's right in there as well, and that's the fight for 6, 7 and 8 on the track, as Michael Stephen is all over the back in there of Botha. That Toyota Gazoo Racing Mercedes-Benz might just lose out in the right-hander as Michael Stephen dives up on the inside, but Botha covers the line, but it's not going to happen as Michael Stephen takes that position away there from Botha, but FC Botha fights back, and has to eventually give that place up to Michael Stephen, but it's not over yet. It's far from done, FC.
Yeah, switching back there to gain that line back again. And oh, Michael Stephen completely overdoing it, getting the tail end of that Mercedes out and then getting helped out of the way there by Timothy Stanton in the 69 Mercedes. And I can guarantee you, Michael Stephen not going to be too happy about that one.
Not a happy camper, that's for sure, as Peter Hubert in 4th position chases down Johan Fourie. He's only 7/10 of a second behind Fourie. That's there in that 3rd position. You're riding aboard with Fourie. You're looking back there at 4th place man Peter Hubert, who's got connectivity problems. That's not what Peter Hubert wants at this point in time. Have a look at that left rear suspension. That's a steady suspension there. FC of that Monster Energy AMG Mercedes-Benz of 3rd place man Johan Fourie.
What's interesting on these cars for me, Frankie, is how quickly these guys have actually gotten back onto their qualifying pace. We're already seeing the top guys running 1 minute 29s in this race. And I mean, thinking about how the guys started on fuel and their tires and everything, and already back onto those 1 minute 29 times with these Mercedes AMGs. But at the moment, Johan Fourie doing a very good race there in that 3rd position, being chased down by Peter Fourie. Let's have a look see here. Willem Pienaar in the number 15 seems to have had a bit of an incident. Running a bit weird line out of that corner and getting taken out there by the number 2, and the guys are making a bit of contact there. But that's Charles Hubert that helped him out of the way there. Just got his nose up, and the number 15 car just closed up on him there. And unfortunately, the 2 of them came together and off the track.
Oh, there was some brilliant camera work here by Mr. Gavin Fleming, who got that one spot on for us. Lucchese sits out there in P1. Hubert in 2nd, Fourie is there in 3rd, Andre Steenkamp, that's the Batmobile. Yeah, there's that Batman sign. And he is right in there behind Herman Lazarus. He's 7/10 of a second behind Herman Lazarus. And that's the fight for 9th and 10th. That's the last 2 top 10 positions, with Lazarus in P9, Steenkamp in P10. That's the main straight going into turn number 1. The Batmobile is all over the cheaper cars. .co.za. Mercedes-Benz there of 9th place man Herman Lazarus. Luke Lucchese, however, still running away up front, and he's now 2.8 seconds ahead there of Francois Hubert in that 2nd position, as we keep an eye here on Lazarus and Steenkamp making their way through that tight right-hander, with Steenkamp pressurizing the back bumper there of the cheaper cars, Mercedes-Benz of Herman Lazarus.
As we are watching that battle, here's another battle happening here between 17th and 18th, Charles Hubert and Andrew Colbert. These 2 are going at it. They're riding on board with the number 2 car of Charles Hubert. It is out there. The guys really trying very, very hard to stay ahead of each other there. That is the A-Line. Is that one of the sponsors that's on there? Charles Hubert currently sitting out there in that number 2 car. Right behind him is the car of Andrew Colbert, and these guys battling it out there for those positions. But as you can see on the timing screen there, Charles Hubert passes Willem Pienaar on the inside of that number 15. Tries to get, and Hubert tries to fight back, but makes a little bit of a mistake, and that hands it to Charles Hubert getting past Willem Pienaar and getting that number 2 car up into 15th position.
And watch out for Andrew Colbert as well. Bigfoot Express, he has a go there at Willem Pienaar, but he might just lose out. No, he keeps that position ahead there of Willem Pienaar. Notice the guys actually call him Pine Pienaar as well, which does make sense. People who saw them at Pienaar normally get called Pine Pienaar. So yeah, I think for this one we'll refer to Willem Pienaar as Pine Pienaar, as he's all over the back end there of Andrew Colbert. And man, he had to climb on the brakes there, did Pienaar, not to cause chaos there between himself and Pienaar. But Andre Steenkamp is still all over the back there of Herman Lazarus, and that is that fight for 9th and 10th position. But Steenkamp only 4/10 of a second behind Lazarus in P9.
And Frankie, look at this dice happening here. Davy Hubert all over the back bumper of the Shujin car there of Stephen McCarthy. Those 2 cars also very, very equal on pace. The guys trying their utmost to get past, but it is Davy Hubert who's applying the pressure there. And let's see how long Stephen McCarthy can stay out ahead in that 007. There's less than half a second between the 2 of them, as they battle it out there for 11th and 12th position.
That was that fight just outside of the top 10. But we go back to this one, the Batmobile of Andre Steenkamp, and right behind him, the number 17, the cheapercars.co.za Mercedes-Benz of Herman Lazarus, 7/10 of a second between P9 and 10, between Steenkamp and Lazarus, as they make their way down the main straight under the Red Bull Bridge into turn number 1. Climb that hill. That's a hectic hill to climb up. Then you turn sharp right. Lazarus is looking at that back bumper of Steenkamp ahead of him, FC, as they go under the Alpha Tauri Bridge and head up towards turn 3.
A lot of people know this. Alpha Tauri, of course, being the fashion brand of Red Bull, and that's why you see their branding out here at the Red Bull Ring. But looking back from Andre Steenkamp saying, "I'm Batman," getting past Herman Lazarus there to gain a position, and Lazarus now trying very, very hard in the cheapercars.co.za car to try and get back in position there. Going up and down the field, Luke Lucchesi still the guy that leads them as we ride on board there with Davi Hubert. But now back with Luke Lucchesi in the Hot Wheels car leading there. He's now already gotten that lead up to 3.5 seconds ahead of Francois Hubert, with Johan Fourie sitting there in 3rd position, and then Graham Stephen having a good race out in 4th place.
Well, with only 12 minutes done, there will be no pit stops yet. I got a funny feeling, FC, we're going to wait until about between 25 and 28 minutes. We'll have a look and see who is the biggest losers and who's the biggest winners here so far. Willem Botha's moved up 3 places, Van der Spy 4, Steenkamp 5, Herman Lazarus gone up 8 positions. And Engelbrecht and Swayze Hubert, they are the biggest losers positions-wise at this point in time. But the first 3 FC, sorry to interrupt you there, they started 1st, 2nd and 3rd, and they are basically in that same positions. In other words, they've basically held station for the last almost 13 minutes.
Well, they're quite safe out there in those top 3. Look at Graham Stephen, he's managed to make up 2 positions since the start of the race. And Peter Hubert having lost the place there. Willem Botha actually had a good start there. He's gained 3 positions up from 9th where he started on the grid. And then behind him, Timothy Stanton's made up a position. While Peter van der Spy, who's made up 4 positions, and Andre Steenkamp, he's clawed his way up 5 positions from the start of the race. Herman Lazarus, as you said, the leader there, or the biggest winner, 8 positions gained, and Stephen McCarthy 6 positions.
Well, the thing with Willem Botha, he needs to get his nose ahead of Peter Hubert. Willem does not need Peter Hubert ahead of him. Remember, Willem is 3rd in the championship. He'd rather not have the number 12 car ahead of him, of that man we've seen there now, Peter Hubert. And he'd also prefer to have Graham Stephen behind him. So at this point in time, FC, it's going pretty okay for Francois Hubert and Johan Fourie, but not exactly what Botha wants. And it is exactly what Graham Stephen wants. He wants those 2 positions between himself and Botha to possibly sneak into a top 3. And with 14 minutes done, this one's still going to get very interesting before we get to that 15-minute mark.
14 minutes, 10 laps, that's where we are in this race. The final race of the season here from Western Province Sports and GT Masters Series. Riding over there with 3rd place man Johan Fourie in the number 14 Monster Energy car. He's currently sitting there. He's about 7 seconds behind our leader, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's the gap. So he's about 7 seconds off our leader, but also chasing down Francois Hubert, who's ahead of him. Graham Stephen there behind him. As Frankie said earlier on, it looked like Willem Botha was catching up to Graham, but then unfortunately made a small mistake somewhere, then lost out of position to Peter Hubert. Now sits with quite a few drivers between himself and the amount of points he needs to try and overhaul Peter Hubert.
Well, the thing, Johan Fourie is okay. He's there in that 3rd place. Graham Stephen is right in there behind him as we keep an eye here on Sandro Bakari, and Sandro Bakari's got Colin Plitt right there with him. So that is a lovely little fight there between Bakari and Plitt just there ahead of him. And then Gerald Mouget is also in that fight as well. That's that 18 car of Gerald Mouget. Colin Plitt is out there with that 75. That's the Puma car of Colin Plitt. And he is being kept honest there with Sandro Bakari. Only 4/10 of a second in there behind Colin Plitt. And that is that fight out there for 13 and 14th positions.
Plitt ran very, very wide coming out of that final corner as they head down the main straight now under the RedBull start-finish line and up the hill into that right-hand corner. He sits on the tail end of that carbon fibre and yellow Puma car of Colin Plitt, and he's also been chased down by Gerald Noget, Charles Hubert and Johan Engelbrecht.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's a lovely midfield dice there between them. Davi Hubert, yes, Davi Hubert's looking right back there at Plitt and Bakari. That's the tail cam view of Davi Hubert, and here they come. They are side by side as Davi Hubert looks back at these two cars that are absolutely side by side as they head into that right-hander, and Bakari in the Lucky Strike car has made the move up one position.
Yeah, Sandra Bakari making a brilliant move there on the Puma car. Moves up into that 13th position as we're riding on board there with him in the Lucky Strike car, and he's managed to get past Colin Plitt there. Colin Plitt tried to get the switch back, try and get back up on the inside of Bakari, but Bakari just had a brilliant line through that corner and made the move still.
Yeah, as Johan Engelbrecht is now having a squiz there at Charles Hubert, and he's in that Crown-sponsored car. Sway Hubert a bit further down, he's in 19th position, and he's right there with Andrew Colbert in the Bigfoot Express outfit. Colbert in P18, Hubert, Sways, that is in P19, and there is just under 0.3 of a second between Colbert and Sway Hubert in that fight out there, with 17 minutes done for 18th position.
Coming down the main straight, up that hill into the corner, tried to do an overtake there, but just not enough speed as they had to brake for that corner. And that is a Sway Hubert that is trying to get past the likes of Andrew Colbert. He's right up on the tail there, climbs out of the slipstream. Can he make something happen? Going up the hill through that slight left-hander, there's going to be a hard braking zone, and looking to his left, hard on the brakes, and he makes that turn, and he makes another mistake there. A slight mistake there from Sway Hubert, but it seems like he's done enough to get ahead of Andrew Colbert.
Yeah, he's put that number 22 Merc ahead there of the Bigfoot Express Mercedes-Benz of Colbert, and he moves up into that 17th position. Does Sway Hubert. Look at that time, Luke Lucchesi, 1:29.033 is still the quickest man out there. And the last lap by Francois Hubert. Oh, Francois in the lead. So where was Lucchesi? Was Lucchesi in the pits? No, Lucchesi's back in. Oh, Lucchesi's still out there. I just saw him disappear off the radar there for a moment. But no, I'm done. Luke's still sitting out there in that first position. 6.4 seconds ahead of Francois Hubert in second.
Frankie, the man on the move at this moment is Sandra Bakari. He's now gotten right up to the tail end there of Davi Hubert in the Wild Rose Gin Mercedes, right there ahead of Bakari as they go down that straight underneath the AlphaTauri fashion shot, as well as going up that hill now into that hard braking section where we saw Sway Hubert do a move just now. Hard on the brakes, gets right onto the back bumper there of Davi Hubert, but just not enough speed to make a move for that corner.
So that's that fight for that 12th position, with Davi sitting out there in P12, 0.4 of a second ahead of Bakari in that 13th position. Sonax and Ray-Ban, one of the sponsors you see there on the Sandra Bakari number 72 Mercedes-Benz, as they make their way through that right-hander. And now as you look up on the inside, he does, but he's not close enough to make any move there on Davi Hubert. And here he comes. Here comes Bakari. Hubert is wide. Bakari is up on the inside. There might be contact. Oh my word. That was touch and go there by Sandro Bakari, but Davi Hubert holds on to that 12th position as they make their way under that RedBull Ring bridge into that right-hander.
Sticking my foot into it here, the Sports and GT
into the
guys.
Pits.
Oh, into the pits they dive
yes,
now.
Davi's gone into pit lane.
Davi Hubert diving into the pits there. But I'm going to put my foot in this one, Frankie, saying that the Sports and GT guys are definitely showing a lot more respect and knowing when to back out than some of our other fellow racing drivers out on the international circuits.
Yeah.
But running down the list there, starting there with our front man, Luke Lucchesi. He's the man up in front. He's had a fastest time there of 1:29.033. Still leading this race in the Hot Wheels number 19 car, and he's being chased down by the number 6 car of François Hubert, who is driving that AMG Performance Drive number 6 Mercedes.
Yeah, he's nearly 7 seconds behind him in that second place, and here comes Jean Fourie. He's almost 3 seconds behind him in third. Fourth place man Graham Stephen, 4.2 seconds behind Fourie. Graham sits out there in P4. Peter Hubert in that fifth spot, and he is 10 seconds behind Graham Stephen. He rounds off the top 5, and rounding off the top half a dozen FC is Willem Botha, and he is only 2.7 seconds behind Peter Hubert in that fifth position.
Yeah, behind Botha is the 69 of Timothy Stanton. He's being chased down by the captain Peter van der Spey, the number 8 Martini Mercedes, and then we've got Batman chasing him down there. Andre Steenkamp in that 9th position with Herman Lazarus. He is about 2 seconds there behind, followed by Stephen McCarthy. We've got Sandra Bakari in 12th place, followed by the likes there of Colin Plitt and Gerald Mauger.
Yeah, Colin Plitt is right on his case there. Mauger is in that 13th, 14th position. Johan Engelbrecht rounds off the top 15 in that number 16 car as he races across the line into turn number 1. Then Swayze Hubert, and right behind him is Charles Hubert. So Swayze and Charles Hubert are right in there, followed by Andrew Colbert. So Andrew Colbert, that sits there in 18th position, is right on the case of Swayze and Charles Hubert.
Willem Pinaar sitting there in 19th position. 15 car followed by Eugene Manouk. Rainier Hubert and Darby Hubert is the man at the back of the field in the number 3 car.
Right, 22 minutes done, no pit stops yet. I'll tell you this for nothing. I reckon FC anything between 25 and 28 minutes they're going to pit. I'm only having a guess, but that's the way it normally pans out if you've got 50% fuel. And if my facts are right, that is what these drivers will have. And if that's the case, then I'm thinking anything between 26 and 28 minutes, these boys will dive into the pits for one pit stop. Remember, every 17 mistakes that they make, they get a drive-through penalty. So right now, I think the guys are pretty safe when it comes to drive-through penalties. No, they're not.
Peter Hubert.
Peter
Been a
Hubert,
naughty
yes.
boy.
He's been a naughty
He's
boy.
already on 17, and close behind him, Willem Botha,
Willem Botha on
who's on 13.
13.
He can't afford this because he's chasing down guys to try and make up positions.
But look at your leader, Luke Lucchese. He's got 11X there behind his name, so he must be careful. 6 more mistakes by Lucchese, and he gets a drive-through penalty as well. Johan has only made 5. Francois made 6. Look at Graham Stephen. He's only made 2 errors so far. He's the best of them all at this point in time.
A brilliant drive there from Graham Stephen. He's the man who's probably got the most to gain here to try and make up some positions, because he's got to try and work himself up into that 3rd position, and he's doing it without making too many mistakes. He's only made 2 mistakes out there so far, so he's so far from getting a drive-through penalty. But as we all say, it's what happens by the time the flag falls. And at this stage of the fight, Luke Lucchese is doing a brilliant job of leading and managing this race from the start of it.
Well, the top dozen drivers, the top 12, have not made any pit stops yet. It's going to be interesting. We are approaching 25 minutes, which is the halfway mark. Anywhere from there onwards, the pit stops will start to come. Graham Stevens sitting out there in that 4th position. Not exactly where he wants to be. But remember, he's got nothing to lose and everything to gain. At the worst, I'm almost certain he'll end 4th in the championship. So he will be, he won't be happy, but he'll be okay with where he is. The pressure's on Francois Hubert and Johan Fourie, and they are currently 2nd and 3rd as we keep an eye there on Colin Plitt. And Colin Plitt and Sandro Bakari are right there with each other. There goes Plitt through. Ahead of him is Bakari. Bakari in the Lucky Strike outfit as they make their way towards turn 3.
Through turn 3 they go, now riding on board with Colin Plitt in the 75 Puma Mercedes AMG GT3 as they're enjoying themselves out there at the Red Bull Ring in Austria at the final round of the Western Province Sports and GT Master Series. And it looks like Lucchese, is that a pit stop, or is that a connection issue? No, he's back up in the lead
connection
there.
issue,
So it's
yeah.
a connection issue. He's still leading the race out there in the number 19 Hot Wheels Mercedes.
Well, I'll tell you this for nothing. It's going to start happening soon. These pit stops. Luc Leclerc, and he's 8.1 seconds ahead of Francois Hubert in that second position. Johan Fourie sitting out there in third. Here comes Luc Leclerc now. Luc Leclerc, 3/4 of the season he has not done, and if he does a full season in season number 4, he's going to be a man to watch out for a championship, that's for sure. He's way down the road ahead of Francois in second position, with Johan out there in third. But still, this battle goes on between Sandro Bakari and Colin Plitt. 0.3 of a second between the two of them, and that is for that 12th position as they make their way under the Red Bull Racing Bridge and work their way into turn 1.
Well, Frankie, it started happening now. The guys starting to dive into the pit lane. That was started by Eugene Manuk, who was the first to dive in. Then Willem Botha and Stephen McCarthy all dived into the pits. And we'll start seeing these guys start applying their strategy to get in and out as quickly as possible. But Luc Leclerc not into the pits yet, still leading it, following there Stephen McCarthy in the 007. Let's see where he is. He is in the pit lane at the moment, doing everything that they need to do, heading for the pit exit now.
Well, I said anything from about 26 minutes on, 26 to 28, maybe even 29 minutes for the Brave, as we see drivers beginning to make their way out of the pits at this point in time. Here comes Timothy Stanton, and he finds himself in that 6th position with a personal best of a 1:33.68. Is Timothy Stanton in that P6 as he takes that Mercedes-Benz around the Red Bull Ring. Here comes Captain Peter van der Spey, out there in that 7th position, and he is 11 seconds behind Stanton. As into the pits FC comes Peter van der Spey, pitting out of P7.
Peter van der Spey diving into the pits there, as well as André Steenkamp and Herman Lazarus, the next guys to dive into the pits there. But our race leader Luc Leclerc still leading this one, hasn't dived in, riding on board there in the 13th position. That is Suisse Hubert. He'll be making up a couple of positions there as he passed the start finish line and moving up the field. He's already up into 9th position.
Well, I'll tell you what, that first 5-6 drivers must still make their way into the pit. Here comes Bakari and Plitt, and they have not pitted. Colin Plitt and Sandro Bakari side by side into that right-hander, with the Colin Plitt sitting right in there behind Sandro Bakari as they make their way under the bridge and headed towards the top of the hill. Sandro Bakari right in there. There's only 0.4 of a second between Bakari and Plitt into that right hand. Oh, that lucky strike car squirming all over the place there of Sandro Bakari, with Colin Plitt right there on his back bumper.
Top 4 is into the pits. Luc Leclerc, Francois Hubert, Johan Fourie and Graham Stephen all have dived into the pits, and this is going to be interesting to see what happens here as the leaders have dived into the pits and the rest of the pack are chasing now to catch up and try and do something here with the undercut. See what happens. That moves Timothy Stanton into the lead in the 69, and nobody else has made it through yet. Stanton is the guy leading, but he still has to stop.
Well, I just saw Lucchesi dive out of pit lane. I'll tell you what's going to be interesting. Here comes Francois Hubert. Francois Hubert making his way out of pits. Johan Fourie making his way out of pits. Graham Stephen making his way out of the pits. They are all pouring out of the pits. Here comes Johan Engelbrecht through. Now remember, Timothy Stanton still needs to make a pit stop. The moment he dives into the pits, it'll be basically order restored once again. Lucchesi followed there by Hubert, Fourie and Graham Stephen. Johan Engelbrecht that we're watching there, making his way through the right-hander, sitting out there in P6, has not made a pit stop yet. And he's the only one of two in that top 10 that has not made a pit stop. Johan Engelbrecht and Timothy Stanton, they're the only two that hasn't pitted yet. So let's have a look and see if he goes into the pits. Surely Timothy Stanton with 30 minutes done, FC is going to have to take that Mercavies into pit lane very, very soon.
Yeah, he'll definitely have to dive in pretty soon. He's only got a 2 second
There he goes.
lead. Yeah, there he goes now. As he just had a 2 second lead there over our race leader, Luke Lucchesi, who will regain the lead of this race. He's basically been leading it from the start of it. The fastest qualifying time of 1 minute 29.007. Doing a pretty decent job of staying ahead of the field.
So order will be restored the moment Timothy Stanton makes his way into the pits. That means Lucchesi goes through in P1, Francois Hubert in second, Johan Fourie will dive through into that third position. They will all just move up, and Stanton will slowly but surely drop down that leaderboard, that's for sure, with Graham Steve, and there comes Jan Engelbrecht. So yeah, he was the only one of two that hadn't made his way into the pits. Stanton was the one, and Hubert was the other one. Stanton busy working his way. Is he making his way out the pits? Yes, he is. As Johan Engelbrecht, has made his way into pit lane.
Oh, 31 minutes, 25 seconds or so into this race. And let's have a look and see what our leaderboard looks like at this moment, or our positions. Luke Lucchesi, the man leading them in P number 1. And he's got Francois Hubert chasing him down in the number 6 car, followed by Johan Fourie in 3rd and Graham Stephen in that 4th position.
Oh, that's a top 4 with Peter Hubert rounding off the top 5, followed there by Timothy Stanton and Willem Botha. There goes Peter Hubert, he's in that 5th position. And Stanton making his way, and yeah, right behind Stanton is Botha. They are right there with each other, Stanton and Botha. There's now 0.8 of a second between Stanton and Botha. That could have been for position out on track, FC.
I think Botha made a big mistake there, because he was in 6th position,
yeah.
And all of a sudden Stanton came from nowhere and got past Botha, who's now dropped into that 7th position. So I'm not too sure if Botha maybe made contact somewhere, because look at how much time he's losing after that passing maneuver. There in that 7th position, not looking as racy right now as he did. Yep, he dives into the pit lane again to have some repairs done. There is Willem Botha.
Yeah, that Toyota Gazoo Racing Mercedes-Benz making its way back into the pits, as you say there. Or could it be a drive-through penalty? That might be. He's done more than 17x. We'll have a look, see if he stops. It's to repair damage. If he keeps on going, then it's a drive-through penalty, and that is definitely, FC, a drive-through penalty.
Yeah, a drive-through penalty. 18 mistakes there, and that's cost him dearly, because he's lost another position to Peter van der Spey and Andre Steenkamp, losing 2 positions because of that, and that's not something he wanted, because that man in, where is he now, 2nd position? Graham Stephen is the man that is trying to catch him for the championship's 3rd position.
And look how it's worked out there for Graham Stephen. He was most of this race in that 4th position, and now he finds himself in that, well, he's still out there in that 4th position, but it's definitely worked out perfectly well for him, and not for Willem Botha, because Botha now finds himself exactly where he qualified, in that 9th position.
Yeah, definitely not what he wanted. And he's got Sandro Bakari, who's less than a second behind him now, or 2.5 seconds behind him, as Bakari is trying to catch the guys ahead of him and trying to make up some positions. But riding on board there with our 2nd place man, Francois Hubert, is the man in the number 6 car, sitting in that 6th position. With 16 minutes to go in this race, the final race of the season. Johan Fourie in 3rd place in the Monster Energy car, chased down there by Graham Stephen in the number 1, and in 5th place Timothy Stanton in the 69, and Peter van der Spey sitting in 6th position.
He's the man on the move. He's Captain Pete. He's done extremely well. He finds himself there in P6. Peter Hubert is there in that 7th place. The Batmobile of Andre Steenkamp is there in that 8th position. Oh, and Willem Botha in P9. What a nightmare. What a horror show out there. Veerman Bakari. Oh, and Engelbrecht. Sandro Bakari and Johan Engelbrecht make some serious contact there, and that will now release probably Colin Plitt, I think, would have gone through. My goodness gracious, that turned ugly very, very quickly there for the two of them.
That was a big one between the two of them, and I was about to say that Sandro Bakari is the man on the move. Hard on the brakes is Suez Hubert to try and not make contact, with the gentleman ahead of him there, but Sandro Bakari cannot be too happy with that one. He was fighting his way through the field, worked himself up into some good positions to make contact with someone out there and be dropping down. Charles Hubert, the man in the number 2 car, he's out there in 15th place, followed by Johan Engelbrecht, Gerald Mauger, and Herman Lazarus.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, we are approaching 14 minutes in this one. Here comes Gerald Mauger. He is our driver from one of 2 drivers from overseas. He comes from Switzerland. Willem Pina is a South African, but he lives out there in England, in the UK. So there are our only 2 international drivers taking part. That's Sway Schubert sitting there in that 13th position in that 22 GoPro Racing Mercedes-Benz. Making his way. Is he coming into pit lane? Yes, he is. Sway Schubert is making his way into pit lane. Now, I would presume that this FC is a drive-through because he has made his pit stop already. And barring a crash out there, these guys wouldn't come in for a second one.
It's not, though. He's only done 4 mistakes. So I'm not sure if he's maybe picked up some damage somewhere that he's trying to fix out there. But diving into pit lane there is costing him a lot of time.
Well, it is a drive-through. He's driving out the other side.
Not too sure what that was about because he's only made 4 mistakes. He hasn't done anything to see that. But look at this, our race leader standing on 17. So one more and he's got to get a drive.
Yeah, Luc Lucchesi must be very, very, very careful. He makes one more mistake, he's going to drive through, and that's exactly what Francois Hubert and Johan Fourie want, as we are riding aboard there with Johan Engelbrecht, and he is all over the back there of, is that Charles ahead of him? Yes, it is. That is Charles Hubert, and they're only 7/10 of a second between Charles and Johan, P14 and 15. As they go into that right-hander. So Johan Engelbrecht has picked up a dice there with Charles Hubert for that 14th position.
Riding on board there with Johan Engelbrecht. But now Steve McCarthy in that 10th position, the 007 car, looking back at the 11th position car there of Colin Plitt. That Puma-sponsored car of Plitt. Very, very beautiful. Look how close he gets to that Sujin car of McCarthy. Late on the brakes, contact between the 2 of them, and they both run wide as Colin Plitt goes off the circuit and takes Stephen McCarthy with him. That's not what any of these 2 drivers wanted. We just cut over to that shot just in time to see that overtaking maneuver, and these guys are not going to be happy with that, as both of them lose some time with who's that's gained there on them. That is the number 3 of Davy Hubert.
Yeah, Davy Hubert, that's in that 12 places right there. So it's Plitt, McCarthy and Hubert. That is 10, 11 and 11, 12 and 13 as they go through into that right-hander. Actually, it's 9, 10 and 11 to be honest with you, as they go into that right-hander, and Davy Hubert is right there. He's 4/10 of a second behind McCarthy, who in turn is 4/10 of a second behind Colin Plitt. So there's nothing between these guys, and that is now the fight with 38 minutes done for that 10th position.
The guys are driving really, really hard out there, with the Plitt still having managed to gain that position on Steve McCarthy, and starting to slightly pull away there from McCarthy. Davy Hubert becoming a serious headache out there for McCarthy as he starts to gain on him. The 2 of them basically within touch of one another as the guys start settling into those positions there, with just over 10 minutes left, about 10 minutes 20 seconds to go here in this final race for the Western Province Sports and GT Master Series.
Right, so Luc Lucchesi is the man that's still out there in P1. He is 12.3 seconds, my word, ahead of Francois Hubert. That's there in that 2nd place. Francois will not have an issue with that because he sees a championship win here. Johan Fourie is 5.5 seconds behind Hubert in that 3rd position with Graham Stephen. Now, Graham's only 2.2 seconds behind Johan Fourie, and that is not exactly what Johan wants at this point in time. That's a top 4. Timothy Stanton in P5, but FC, he's 26 seconds behind Graham Stephen. That's there in that 4th place. But nonetheless, a great performance in general by Timothy Stanton.
Great performance, and he's sitting out on his own there because Peter van der Spey is a full 7 seconds behind him there in that 6th position.
Ooh,
and then
track limits.
very wide he goes. Yeah, it's Peter van der Spey. Then Peter Hubert in the number 12 car sits there in 7th place, followed by the number 46 of Andre Steenkamp in the Batmobile in 8th place, and Colin Plitt in that 9th position in the number 75.
Yeah, that is Colin Plitt that finds himself there in that 10th position, and then there is Davy Hubert and Stephen McCarthy. Now, that's a change of position. Davy Hubert has got his nose ahead there of McCarthy. McCarthy should be right in there with him as well. That will be Plitt, Hubert and McCarthy, and Sandra McCarthy won't be too far behind them. Sandra Bakari is 6/10 of a second in there, just behind Sandra Bakari that he's looking at. That's Stephen, and he is looking at the Davy Hubert in the Wild Rose outfit ahead of him. And Stephen McCarthy that sits out there in P11 will fancy his chances up on the inside here for a top 10. And
he gets his nose in, but just not enough speed through that corner. He loses out there. He's made up a lot of ground to try and get back at Davy Hubert, and unfortunately didn't work out into that corner. Davy Hubert lives to fight another day.
Here comes Stephen McCarthy right behind him. Here is Sandro Bakari coming into that right-hander. Johan Engelbrecht making his way through as well. Here comes Charles Hubert, and right behind him is the leader. Right behind Charles is the leader. Charles says, I'll just keep out your way. Luke, I'm not going to get into your way. You are way down the road ahead of me, as he puts a lap there on Hubert and goes off on his way, does race leader Luke Lucchesi.
Swayze Hubert has had quite an interesting race out there, starting quite high up and having a bit of a mistakes happen, and then also having to fight his way back and then getting taken out there earlier in this race. But he's currently sitting there in 15th place, followed by Gerald Maget in the number 18 car in 16th place. Herman Lazarus, the man sitting there in 17th, and he's being chased down by the number 38 car of Renier Hubert.
That is the top 18. Ian Riddle sits out there in 19th position, and rounding off the top 20 is Willem Pienaar. Not a great outing there for Willem Pienaar in the Castrol outfit. Here comes Charles Hubert. Is this a drive-through for Charles? Let's have a look-see. He just cruised down pit lane and out the other side. So, yep, that looks like that FC was a drive-through there for car number 2, Charles Hubert.
So a lot of the guys going over track limits and making a couple of mistakes there. Ian Riddle in the Marlborough car. He sits out there in that 19th position, ahead there of Willem Pienaar. And then the guys having a lot of interesting battles out there, but a little bit of an uneventful race there for Ian Riddle in that 19th spot, followed by Willem Pienaar in 20th place, followed by Andrew Colbert, Eugene Manouk.
Well, if you have a look there, FC, at the biggest movers, Peter van der Spey has gone up 6 positions, so was Andre Steenkamp and Colin Plitt, Stephen McCarthy as well. But Johan Engelbrecht and Swayze Hubert, they've gone down 6 and 9 positions respectively.
Well, Frankie, I could be wrong, but if I read this graphic correctly, Willem Botha, who was fighting for his life in that 3rd position, or for 3rd position in the championship, he's out of this race. I think that car's picked up a lot of damage somewhere, and he's dropped right out of it. He's already, he's out of it. So that opens the door wide open for Graham Stephen.
Oh, it's been a horror show for Willem Botha with 20 errors and 14 positions lost. It does show there that he's out, and if that is the case, this has gone and destroyed his entire 3rd season. But such is the nature of the beast. He will be back up and running again, I'm almost certain, and challenging for the 4th season. Right, Luke Lucchesi, 1:29.033. That's a time he posted early on, and that's still the fastest out there. Luke Lucchesi, Francois Hubert with a personal best of a 1:29.6. One Farid with a 1:29.8. And Graham Stephen with a 1:29.87.
Frankie, as the seconds count down to 5 minutes left in this race, it is, as you said, Lucchesi, Hubert and Fourie leading them. Right, there we go, 5 minutes left to go. with Timothy Stanton. He's sitting there in that 5th position. Peter van der Spey in 6th, Peter Hubert 7th, Andre Steenkamp in 7th, and Colin Plitt having a good race out there in 9th position.
And Lucas right behind him, 7/10 of a second behind him in P10 is Davy Hubert. So Colin Plitt in the Puma outfit, and he has got Davy Hubert right in there behind him. That's P9 and 10 as they head up the hill into turn number 1 and then make their way towards turn 3. Here's a replay here at Stephen McCarthy going under the bridge, and what happened out here to Stephen. He just overdone it late on the brakes and ran off the circuit and touches the grass there and brings the 007 Merc back onto track once again.
And that is Sandra Bakari that was trying to get past him there, and was really having a dice and a go at it out there. Colin Plitt is the man in 10th position. He's been one of those to watch out for, making a lot of moves out on circuit, trying to gain positions there. He's right on the tail of the Wild Gin car of Davy Hubert, ahead of him in 9th position, and being chased down by Sandra Bakari in 11th.
Yeah, Sandra Bakari only 2.4 seconds behind Davy and Colin, so they are fighting out there for that 9th position. There is Davy, there is Colin, and you see crawling up behind them in that 11th position is Sandra Bakari. You just see him come over the rise behind Colin Plitt. Sandra Bakari 2.2 seconds now behind Colin Plitt, and that is the fight for the last 2 positions in the top 10 between Hubert, Plitt and Bakari.
Just getting out there, there's a replay coming in here between Davy Hubert and Plitt as Hubert dives up on the inside in that tight right-hander and makes the move on Colin Plitt there to gain a position on Colin into P.
I think that's a fight for P9.
P9, yes. There we go, yeah. So Davy Hubert moving up into P9 ahead of Colin Plitt.
So that was a replay there with Plitt. You can see now in that 10th position, so he lost that back out there again to Davy Hubert. Right, let's have a look, see. The time is running out. We are approaching 2 minutes in this one. And oh, look at Johan Fourie and Graham Stephen. That's the fight out there for 3rd position. Graham Stephen, 7/10 of a second behind Johan Fourie. This is exactly what Graham Stephen wants, and this is not what Johan Fourie needs at this point in time. And with 2 minutes left on the clock, all of a sudden, Johan Fourie is fighting for dear life to at least stay 2nd in the championship.
Johan Fourie might be fighting fighting for his life to stay ahead there, but I'll tell you who is fighting with guns blazing. That's Graham Stephen, who's now up into 0.4 seconds off of Fourie to try and make up another position there, riding on board with Stephen, forcing Johan Fourie to be driving very aggressively. He got a tyre up onto the grass. We saw in that shot as the grass started flying up from that Monster Energy Mercedes as Graham Stephen is applying a lot of pressure.
Well, I'll tell you what, they've got a back marker in front of them. This is not exactly, this could be Gerald Mouget that's ahead of them, and this is not what Fourie wants. This is not what Johan needs at this point in time. Oh my word, and Graham Stephen is there. Well, these guys are fighting for the top 3 in the championship. Fourie's got everything to lose. Stephen's got everything to gain. Remember, Stephen was in P4 before this race got underway. The worst he could probably end is in that 4th position. Johan is in 2nd. He's only 13 points behind Francois Hubert at the beginning of this production. And this is exactly what Graham Stephen wants, FC, and exactly not what Johan Fourie wants at this point in time.
Yeah, Johan Fourie managed to get a bit of a slipstream there from Gerald Mouget as they now managed to get past him. But the guys are giving their all as Stephen now falls back a little bit, 0.6 seconds behind with almost 30 seconds left in this race. We're going to jump on board there with our race leader, Luke Lucchesi. He's the man that's done it all out there. He's 14 seconds ahead of Francois Hubert and doing brilliantly in this race. Next time around, they come past the start-finish line. That will be the end of the race. But back to this fight here as Graham Stephen has not yet given up.
Well, I think Lucchesi might have to do another lap. I'm not too sure. He's making his way. Yeah, he's going to have to do one more lap. There is 5 seconds left. He crosses the line, so he just doesn't make it. So this will be the last lap for every driver. Here comes Stephen. Oh my word, Graham Stephen is looking, and Johan Fourie is now, knowing Johan Fourie all these years, Johan being a seasoned driver will not hit the panic button, and Graham Stephen is in pit lane. Drive-through penalty. Remember, he was on 17X FC. Is this a drive-through penalty for Graham Stephen?
I'm just
guessing.
I think he thought this was the end of the race, as he's dived in. He's only on 9 mistakes there, so I'm not sure why he dived into the pit lane, because our race leader is still out on track. He started that last lap as, really not sure why he dived into that pit, but he's got enough time behind him, between himself and Timothy Stanton, but he's given up that dice between himself and Johan Fourie.
Well, Luke Lucchesi will figure that one out as we get towards the checkered flag. Here comes Luke Lucchesi. This is his last lap of the Red Bull Ring. He's got a back marker in front of him. He just must not get caught up with that back marker as he makes his way towards the end of the lap. As he takes that right-hander, the end is in sight. That is the last corner coming up there for race leader and race winner Luke Lucchesi in the Hot Wheels Mercedes-Benz. Brings it home FC in P1.
Yeah, Luke Lucchesi finishing in that first position. He will be followed home there by the number 6 car of François Hubert. He's the next man through with the Mercedes AMG sponsored Merc there of François Hubert. Coming home in third position. He's about 17 seconds down, riding on board there with him now in the Monster Energy car. He's sitting out there in that third place, and he's got a nice big gap between himself and the guy behind him. That is Timothy Stanton. He's in that fourth position. He's going to bring it home in fourth place. So, Johan Fourie finishing in third, followed by Timothy Stanton, bringing the 69 Mercedes home in fourth position.
That is the best that Tim has ever done by finishing in the top 5 in P4. And he's moved up 4 positions since this one got underway. Timothy Stanton, well done. A top 5 for Timothy. He'll finish in that 4th position. And Captain Peter van der Spey, what a drive by Captain Pete, rounding off the top 5 in the Martini Racing Mercedes-Benz. He has done it right, and he finishes there in 5th position, just ahead there of Peter Hubert. And FC to the line, Andre Steenkamp.
Andre Steenkamp bringing it home, followed by Davy Hubert in the number 3 car. He's going to go into that final corner to bring it home in 8th position. And then in that 9th position, and I think this guy, it was either strategy or he can kick himself, Graham Stephen bringing it home in that 9th position, where it could have possibly have been a 3rd place.
I don't know what happened there. Maybe, as Gavin was saying, he never had enough fuel. We thought it was a drive-through. It clearly was not a drive-through penalty. Did he think the checkered flag was out? Maybe, like you said, FC, I don't know. But either way, that could possibly have cost him a top 3 in the championship. Here comes Ian Riddle to the line. But I think he's about a lap or so down in any case. Ian Riddle out there in the Marlboro coloured Mercedes-Benz, and he will finish just out of the top 20, and yes, he is 1 lap down.
Well, that brings us to the end of this race, the final race of the season of the Western Province Sports and GT Master Series, taking place at the Red Bull Ring in Austria. And what a lovely race it was. Luke Lucchesi, the man bringing it home in first position, followed by François Hubert in second, and Johan Fourie bringing home that 3rd position.
Yeah, that's your podium. Timothy Stanton, well done Tim, finishing there in P4. Captain Peter van der Spey in P5. Peter Hubert, Andre Steenkamp, Davy Hubert, Graham Stephen, and rounding off the top 10 FC, Colin Plitt.
Yeah, and then the rest of the guys: Sandro Bakari, Johan Engelbrecht, Swys Hubert, Gerald Maget, Stephen McCarthy, Charles Hubert, Herman Lazarus had a good one out there, and Willem Pinaar. That is your top 18.
Well, FC, I'm looking at the points here on Gavin's computer screen, which you people at home can't see. So if you want to come around unofficially, François Hubert is the champion on 167 points. with Johan Fourie finishing there in second on 100 and what's it, 52 points. Willem Botha, just by keeping going, will finish third on 149 and Graham Stephen on 133. But hang on, that's not the end points. That's the way they started. Yes, that's the way they started tonight. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see what the points are going to be like the moment we have worked that one out. Well, what a race it's been. What a production it's been. A big thanks to FC Nivo, a big thanks to Gavin Fleming, and we are certainly looking forward to the next series and the next season.
Yeah, remember to tune in on the Sports and GT Facebook page to check out who finished where after tonight's race, and see who finished in those top 3 positions for season number 3. It was a lovely evening spending it here with you from the Second Gear Talk Show studios, bringing to you live the racing action here of the Sports and GT Master Series. From my side, FC Nivo, it was wonderful to be here with you guys, and we'll see you again next time.
Yeah, we'll see you on the 15th of August for the next 6-hour Enduro. And a big thanks to Dr. Mike Verrier for putting together an absolutely amazing season so far. We're looking forward to round 3 of the Enduro. But to say goodbye, to round off your top 3, your podium for this evening: Luc Lequesi, Francois Joubert, Johan Fourie. For myself, Frankie Yennis, enjoy the week, look after yourselves, God bless, and goodbye everybody.